I'm Nadia, and this case has never made sense to me. In 1962, the highest-ranking military officer in the United States signed a document. In that document, he proposed that the American government blow up its own ships, kill its own citizens, and blame Cuba to justify going to war. The president rejected it. The document was classified for 35 years. This is what it said. I've been reading this document for the past week. It's 8 pages. It was signed by General Lyman Lemnitzer, chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, on March 13, 1962. To understand why a document like this existed at all, you have to go back 1 year. April 1961. The Bay of Pigs invasion has just collapsed on a Cuban beach. 1,400 CIA-trained exiles surrender. The plan was supposed to overthrow Fidel Castro. Instead, it humiliates the United States and convinces the new administration that something has to be done about Cuba. President Kennedy refuses to send in American air power to save the invasion. He gets the blame anyway. Within months, the White House launches a new effort. It's called Operation Mongoose. Its goal is to remove Castro through covert means: sabotage, propaganda, assassination plots. It's run by a man named Edward Lansdale. Lansdale is a counterinsurgency specialist. He spent a decade designing operations in the Philippines and Vietnam. And in early 1962, he is looking for what he calls a pretext, a justification for direct U.S. military intervention in Cuba. That word, pretext, is what brings us to the Joint Chiefs. On March 5, 1962, Lansdale formally asks the Department of Defense to provide options, real military scenarios that could create the appearance of Cuban aggression. The request goes up the chain. At the top of that chain is one man. General Lyman Lemnitzer is 62 years old. He fought in North Africa and Italy. He commanded forces in Korea. He is the most senior uniformed officer in the United States military. He was decorated for valor in North Africa. He helped plan the surrender negotiations with German forces in Italy in 1945. After the war, he ran the Army's strategic planning. He briefed 3 presidents. By the time he sits down to sign the document we are about to look at, he has spent 40 years being trusted with the most consequential decisions the country has made about war. And on March 13, 1962, 8 days after Lansdale's request, Lemnitzer signs the response. The document is titled Justification for U.S. Military Intervention in Cuba. It is classified top secret. It is addressed to the Secretary of Defense, Robert McNamara. The first page lays out the purpose. The plan, and I'm reading directly from the page, is to place the United States in the apparent position of suffering defensible grievances. That is the entire premise. Manufacture grievances. Use them to justify a war. What follows is a list. The first proposals concern the U.S. naval base at Guantanamo Bay, American territory inside Cuba. The document suggests staging incidents that would appear to be Cuban attacks on the base. Friendly Cubans, dressed in Cuban military uniforms, would attack the perimeter. American buildings would be sabotaged from inside. Item by item, the memo describes what would be staged. Mortar shells fired at the base from outside. Fires set inside. Sabotage operations. The aim is to create casualties, American casualties, that could be blamed on Castro. Then the proposals leave Guantanamo and get worse. If you're new here, this is what I do. long-form investigations into the cases the record won't close. Subscribing helps me keep doing it.
I want to stop here for a second.
What I'm describing is not a rumor. It is not a theory. It is a numbered memorandum from the Joint Chiefs of Staff. The pages are public. The signatures are on them. And the next proposals on the list, the ones I'm about to walk through, are what got this document classified for 35 years. The document references the USS Maine, the American ship that exploded in Havana Harbor in 1898 and triggered the Spanish-American War. The authors of the memo know exactly what that reference means, and they propose something similar. Quote, "We could blow up a U.S. ship in Guantanamo Bay and blame Cuba." Casualty lists, the document notes, would, and this is the line I keep coming back to, cause a helpful wave of national indignation. A helpful wave. The list keeps going, staging the appearance of a Cuban attack on a civilian airliner, sinking boatloads of Cuban refugees fleeing toward the United States, fabricating evidence, planted radio communications, fake survivors with stories, all to confirm the attacks came from Cuba. The proposals are not coded. They are not hypothetical. They are a menu of options the Joint Chiefs presented to the Secretary of Defense as serious responses to a foreign policy problem. Before we get to the end of this, drop a comment with what you think about all of this. I read every one. The document went to Robert McNamara. McNamara took it to President Kennedy. Kennedy rejected it. I've read what historians have written about that meeting, and the truth is, we don't have a full record of what he said. What we know is that he turned the plan down, and within months, Lemnitzer was removed as chairman of the Joint Chiefs. He was reassigned to Europe. He never held a position in Washington again. The document went into a classified file. It stayed there for 35 years. In 1997, the National Security Archive, an independent research institute at George Washington University, obtained the document through a Freedom of Information Act request. They published it. Anyone can read it now. It is freely available online. I've linked it in the description. The document existed in plain view for 4 years, and almost no one noticed. That changed in 2001, when an investigative journalist named James Bamford published a book called Body of Secrets. Bamford had read the memo in the archive. He devoted a chapter to it. The book was reviewed in major newspapers, and for the first time, the contents of what Lemnitzer had signed reached the public. I've been thinking about this document for a long time. Not because of what it proposed. Plans like this have probably been drawn up by every major military in history. What I keep coming back to is the fact that we know about this one. We know about it because the president said no. And because 35 years later, someone filed the right paperwork. The question the document leaves open is the one no declassification can answer. How many similar proposals were never rejected? And how many were never declassified? I'm Nadia. Thanks for watching.